This tutorial covers the steps in Illustrator to finish up our halftone, color halftone image. Now, most of the heavy lifting for this project has already been completed. We finished that up in Photoshop in the previous tutorial. What we have to make sure is that the final step of the last tutorial is taken care of. That would be saving out each individual layer as a JPEG. If you haven't done that, go back to the last tutorial and just finish up that last step. Now that I've got those three saved, here we go, I'm going to select all three of those and drag and drop them into Illustrator. I'm just kind of fill up, go down to some clear space down here. Now when they come into Illustrator, I've brought them in as JPEGs. They came with the white space saved into them. So I'm going to sort of stack them right next to each other. And if I wanted to kind of maintain the transparency, I maybe could have saved out a PNG or saved a PSD file. But because we're going to be expanding these, the white space always gets traced anyway. So the first step would be to do an image trace of each one of these layers, and then we will work on isolating just the black space. So for each one of these, I'll open up the image trace palette and click preview. And this may go a little bit more slowly for you. It might get laggy depending on the quality of your image. Go ahead and trace each one right down the line. Once they're traced, we will expand them. Okay, each one is traced out. Now I'm going to go to Object, Expand, click OK, Object, Expand, okay, and last one, expand, click OK. Now, even though each one of these is expanded and grouped, it still has all of that white space in there. So I could go through and just kind of double click into the group. I know that I'm clicked into the group because I see up here in my options bar, and then just start to pull away that white space. But that gets a little bit of a pain, and there's all these little kind of small white areas in between. So I have a better idea. Just like in Photoshop, we have the ability to select same fill color. Now the way that we'll get that is by double clicking into the group, and you may have to click twice because typically when an image traces a big complicated image like these, it puts in two groups. And then I'll grab just something black in this image, do a select, same, fill color. That way I make sure I grab all the black pieces in here, and now I'll use a keyboard shortcut, Command C. Now I'm going to double click the white space so that I'm no longer in my group, and do a keyboard shortcut, Command V, paste. Now I'm going to put that layer down here, and just in case there are any loose pieces, I'll do a Command G, group. And I'll do the same thing for these other two. So I'll double click into this group, double click one more time so I know I'm in two groups down. I'll grab a hold of something black, like the frame of the glasses here, do a select, same, fill color. Now that I know I've got all the black items here, I'll do a Command C, copy, double click out of that group, Command C, paste. Just kind of pull this down a little bit so it's not overlapping, and Command G, group. That way it won't all fall apart when I try to move it somewhere. Alright, last one. Double click into the halftone layer, grab onto just one of those little dots, select, same, fill color, Command C, copy, double click out of that group, there we go, Command V, paste. Now it's really critical that I group this one because each one of those dots is its own shape. So Command G, group. Now because I've already expanded these and I've already grouped them and copied them, I'm just going to get rid of these. That way I don't accidentally confuse them with these guys here. So now each one of these is now just the sort of black layer, and it's perfect and ready to go. But in order to be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better, I need to change the color of this guy. So I can go to my color palette here, double click the fill, and let's just start with something crazy like teal, and oops, it didn't want to change. How come? Well, let's go to the color palette and see. Click that open, keyboard shortcut F6, and I'm going to check its color space by clicking this little hamburger stack up here in the right hand corner. This shape has been set to grayscale, so I'm just going to switch it to RGB, and while I'm at it, I bet that both of these are also set to grayscale, so let's switch those right away. RGB, and I'll set the halftone to RGB. Okay, so I kind of sort of like this teal color. It's pretty wild. I'm going to set my halftone to the same teal and double click into my fill color again and just make this sort of like a darker, maybe a more neutral version of that teal. And then I'll stick the halftone right on top of this guy here. Now, as long as the halftone is actually sitting on top of the flat, everything should look good. If it doesn't quite look right, remember that your arrangement can be off. So say, for example, the flat was sitting on top of the halftone. That wouldn't look right. So make sure the halftone is sitting on top of the flat. I'm not even going to really worry so much about perfect alignment at this point. And then I'm going to stick the, well, actually, let's change the color. I don't know if I like the black. I'm going to set the sort of key image to that darker gray or the darker teal. And maybe I'll come in and just switch the color space to something a little bit more vibrant, like red. That'll stand out. Now, I could do my best to just sort of make these all line up on top of each other. Well, looks like the key image is hiding behind the halftone. I better right-click and bring that forward. Arrange, bring to front. There we go. I kind of like it a little bit misregistered. It looks a little bit like an old poorly printed comic book. But in case you want to make everything perfectly in alignment, I can select all three of those layers, open up my Align palette. If it's not open already, go to Window, Align, and I'm going to vertically align center and horizontally align center. And because it came in as a photograph, it should snap these into perfect alignment. Now, I could do a couple of fun things. So now that these are vector, right, I could get in there and clean up any misprints along the edges. So if I double click into my halftone, each one of these halftone dots is its own little vector shape. So it's pretty easy to clean these up. If I need to do any repen tooling or anything like that, that's all possible. From here, the sky's the limit on what you could do with your design. I think any one of these, even the misregistered one, looks kind of nice. In this example up on top, I've started to add some other design features to it, and we'll take it to that next level, probably in our color unit.